Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this webinar session being conducted by TNV Academy. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Madan Singh. In this webinar today, Mr. Madan Singh will discuss about the 7 QC tools which are widely used in the manufacturing industry. However, in this session, he will be discussing the first two tools only, that is Pareto diagram and cause and effect diagram. The rest of the tools will be discussed subsequently in our next webinar sessions. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Madan Singh, has done his bachelor's in production and industrial engineering and also his master's in business administration in human resource management. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001 standards, respectively. Mr. Madan Singh has audited several organizations for ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001 standards and has helped several others for their implementation. He has an industrial experience of around 34 plus years in field of auditing, consultation, and implementation of these standards. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and their certification and implementation. This was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Madan Singh. I may request Mr. Madan Singh now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you, Apurv, and other participants. I'm glad to be here and part of the TNB Academy. Our today topic is 7 QC tools. As by name, 7 QC tools there are 7 tools. QC stands for quality circles. Quality circle, you must have heard the name. The quality circle is a group of people working together voluntarily for problem identification and problem solving. Today, you'll be taking the two tools, that is Pareto diagram and cause and effect diagram. Regarding the Pareto diagram, the purpose is to select the vital few over the useful many. The Pareto diagram teaches us how we should utilize our time in a best manner. Say, it is also called it 80-20 rules. So you must be knowing that 20% of the employees produce 80% of the company results. 20% of the employees yield 80% of the output. 20% of the population account for 80% of the total wealth. 20% of the customers create 80% of the revenue. 20% of the top executive produce 80% of the output. And most important, our 20% of activities account for 80% of output. So Pareto diagram teaches us how to select the 20% activities so that we can focus on it, we can prioritize it in it, we can or work in it, but output and achievement should be 80%. So it's not a proportional working or proportional result. It is with the 20% working, we are expecting 80% of the results. So why this Pareto diagram? Because our resources are scarce, you all know. Time is very limited. So you must be looking for the time bound, effective, profitable, and productive solution to each and every problem. So the first part in Pareto diagram is data collection. Say data collection is the most important part. If our data collection is not correct, every result will be incorrect. So we have to collect the data over a period of time. Maybe the data relates to 1 month or 3 months or 6 month time or 1 year time. Today, in the given example, we have taken the data of the fan breakdowns. So 150 fan breakdowns. In the manufacturing sector, we can take the type of defects over a period of time, maybe maybe in 3 months or 6 months, and we can analyze it. So I said the Pareto analysis is a technique of arranging data according to priority and importance and using it into problem solving framework. So here first part is that data collections. So for each if you collect the data of the defect, there are 7 or 8 type of defects occurring. So we have to write the number of frequency of each defects, and we have to write all the 7 or 8 defects whatever the occurring, and number of frequency of against the each defects. That's the most important part. In the slide number 9, slide number 9, we have shown this. Say here Pareto diagram arranging data in a manner that we need to identify the vital few. Next, slide number 9. So, let me have the diagram in front of me. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, here the figure taken for the fan breakdowns. So 150 fans have gone into breakdown, and there are the problems. Regulator problem account for 40, bend is 25, motor winding 20, bend in blades 15, crack 14, and others. So 150 data we have collected, and we have divided into 8 problems: the regulator problem, bend problem, motor, bend, cracks, scratches, capacitor, others. Then now our next part is how to construct the Pareto diagram. So we have to first write the slide number 14. First write the frequency of the each defect. Then we need to, yeah, first we have in for this column you need to have the frequency of the each fine breakdown, and this is the cumulative frequency. Just like second is 25, it is added 65. Here is the individual percentage of the breakdown. Here is the cumulative percentage. So if you find that this regulator is the major problem, bend is the second largest problem, motor winding is third problem. So if we solve these 3 problems, the 57 problems of 57% of the total problems are gone. So Pareto diagram says that we should identify this first top 3 problems, and we start solving on the problems, because our time is limited, resource is limited, and we find that whenever we do this with the 20% of the efforts, we'll find 20% of the efforts, 80% of the problem is gone. So this is the example of having the Pareto diagram. So here it is the type of defects. This is the frequency of the data. This is the cumulative frequency. This is the percentage of the frequency. This is the cumulative frequencies. Now we can, with this data, first we have the tabular data, and then we can make our Pareto diagram. So in Pareto diagram, the left side is the quantity or numbers or frequency, and second right side is the percentage of the program. And here is the type of defects. So here the 8 defects have taken: 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The defects are: this is the regulator, this is bend, this is motor, this is again the bend, crack, scratches, and like that. So left side. So here the most important part is that the data are arranged in a descending order. So topmost data, the which is having the maximum frequencies, is arranged at the first place on the live side, and the second one on the one. And the purpose is that with the Pareto diagram, we are going to focus on the first 2-3 data, because if you in real life scenario, if you solve this 2-3 data, 80% of the defects or 80% of the complaints or something like that is gone. So it is a day-to-day situation. So Pareto diagram is a very useful tool in finding out that where we should invest our efforts and time, because this is the data. and this is the most useful tool. So my recommendation is that for solving the problem, first we should prioritize the problems. Okay, which problems are accounting more, which problems are coming more, which problems having more focus, which problems having the maximum impact on the health of the organization, and we should attack first. We can use the other data also, but Pareto diagram gives us a clue and a strong basis where we should attack and on which defects we should start working. Here, if you have to start working, we should pay much more attention to the regulator, much more attention to bend and the motor in the first three things. If you solve these first three problems, this 50, as per this chart, 57% of the problem is gone. But in real life, it is the much more. It is first three problems or two three problems are something around 80% of the total problems. So this is the purpose of Pareto diagram. Here again in the next slide you will find this is the cumulative frequency you have taken 65, 85 the quantity. Here it is the percentage. So this is our focus area. This is our working area that we should work on it. This is the message of the Pareto diagram. So this is all about the Pareto. It is identifying the vital few over the useful many. All are useful, but here this is the vital part. So we have to focus on these vital parts. That is the meaning of the Pareto. Next, we will be taking the here also the second example is there that we can elaborate. Suppose from a particular sub some defects are coming and we are not sure which worker is causing the problems. So we can collect the data over a 7 days or 1 month time, and we can analyze it by the Pareto diagram. Pareto diagram will keep us a clue. Okay, who is the worker who is having the maximum problem and who is producing the maximum defects or like that. So by this thing you can take actions or corrective actions on the particular workwear. So for any problem, what is my recommendation that we should first identify the problems with this Pareto diagram, because Pareto diagram will give us the correct picture and correct and clear picture where our efforts should be utilized and we should concentrate on focus our efforts. And we can also use the other diagrams, other problem solving tools also in after this. But this is the first diagram we should use. Next, we will be taking about the cause and effect diagram. Next, cause and effect diagram is also called the Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram. So here you will find that it is something like the fish shape. That's why it is called the fishbone diagram. Well, for this cause and effect diagram, it is most important that it should be done not done by the individual. It should be done in the group exercise, and everything should be done by the come from the brainstorming session. So here we are going to identify the problem from other angles. So in next slide. Yeah. Here please see this slide in details. Here we have taken the high electrical stress problem. The stress problem maybe four factors or maybe 5 or 6 factors. It is because of the man, it is because of the material, it is because of the machine, it is because of the methods. So here it is the fish shape, the head of the fish on the right, backbone on the left, and there are branches. There are suppose these are the branches over this that will this the clause the causes and sub causes are there. Here the suppose take the mind. The mind, what can be the problems? There can be problems with the engineer, technician, and problems with the operator setup. So we have to find that if the incompetent engineer is there, what are the various factors leading to the incompetent engineer? Is it lack of motivation? Is it lack of training? Is it lack of experience? Similarly, for operators, is it lack of training, lack of experience, lack of motivation? So you have to find out which are the elements responsible for that. Second part, same thing. We can analyze the if the material is guilty, material is culprit, or material is need to be blamed for high electrical overseas. Here, the defective power supply, lack of good spares. So if we go on breaking into the branches, clauses into the sub clauses. We will also take the machines and methods. We can also have the two more elements we can take, just like environments and methods, environments and measurement, and we can analyze one by one. So group of people come together and draw the fishbone diagram and discuss each and every issue in details, and they come to the conclusion to what are the various factors or causes or sub causes which are faulty, which are faulty for particular electrical overstation circumstances, and on that the action is started. But this action is started after the group discussion, after the brainstorming sessions, and taking into view of each and every persons in these things. Here there is a difference between the cause and effect diagram and Pareto diagram. Here it is not categorized which problem is most important from the angle of the organization. So here we are taking all the problems jointly and discussing all the problems. So Pareto will give us the guidelines or idea about which problems we need to take care, and this will and this pieceboard diagram will also help us to analyze and solve the problems by man, machine, methods, and materials and environment and measurement also we can take into pictures. So these two tools together, if you use, this will be very, very useful for the organizations. And I hope that we should use everybody should learn the Pareto, because Pareto, again, coming to the Pareto, it is not only for the small problem identification. Pareto is very useful in day-to-day life for everything. We find that just we told us 20% of our activities contribute the 80% of the results. So how to identify the 20% of the activities which are most important for our day-to-day angle or for our total output. So that will give us a good idea, and then we can use the other tool, cause and effect diagram. So I think with these two tools, we can start them. We can make the beginning, and if we start using, it will be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madan Singh, for putting in your inputs about the seven QC tools and the two topics which were discussed today, which is Pareto diagram and cause and effect diagram. I could say that we have been really benefited by the knowledge shared by you on these two particular tools which are widely used in the industry for identifying the problems and defects within an organization's processes. I can also say with much confidence that our participants must have enjoyed the context of today's webinar, and it will definitely add value to their expertise and domain of work. I would suggest our participants that if they have any questions on the topic which were discussed today, this particular webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel shortly. And you can always put in your questions in the comment section of the video, and we will be really happy answering them. I thank Mr. Madan Singh from the bottom of my heart on behalf of TNV Academy for giving his valuable time and accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker for today's webinar. I also thank all the participants for taking out time from their busy schedule and joining us in the webinar today. I hope to see
Uh,
you all again soon. Wish you all a very best of luck on behalf of TNV Academy for your future endeavors. Thank you so much for your participation.
Last this thing, I will be very, very glad to take the questions and solve any problem with related to Pareto diagram and cause and effect diagram, because we have done so many cases in our life. This thing practical with a practical example. The moment we start working, we'll have the we'll know the beauty of the Pareto diagram and cause and effect diagram, and everybody will start implementing. I hope that if any queries, any clarifications are there, people can come to me directly, and I will be very glad to reply all those things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.